Participate in the contest to eat a lot. Poll is the rent of them for a month. He and the fat guy looked. Horizontal load equals strength. But if you lose, I don't know how to do it. Facing the foul, his wife's wrath. As soon as I got home, he sat down in his chair, confessed to his wife about the contest. He ate 24 of them. That guy is really a monster. You're crazy. You lost $50, right? Dolores. Please. He ate 26 of them. He was lucky. The man's name was Tony. He is the night manager of a restaurant. Bar is also called Protection. He is a very famous person, and very good at communicating in the world. However, that day he made a bit of a heavy move. This caused the bar to close door in 2 months and resulting in it, he completely lost his source of income. The next morning when I woke up, Tony saw his wife pouring water for him. Black repairman. He felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. When his wife saw off the worker, he immediately picked up the stump, compressed directly into the barrel. But the pressure of life is huge. Huge falls on you. He was forced to think about making money fast. That's why there is a contest. Eating a lot at the beginning of the movie. But it can't be every day. You can eat 26 hamburgers. That day, Tony received a phone call. A friend referred to. He works as a driver. He came to interview with Tam. The test state is still good. Unexpectedly, the boss was in mall. Aristocratic blacks. The two stood next to each other. Tony looks like a black man who is more livelihood problems. It turned out that John was a black musician. He plans to go to the South, United States of America performing tour. Music lasts 2 months. However, the situation of discrimination, dealing with blacks in the South is even more serious. What he imagined. Therefore, he needed a needle driver, bodyguards, $100 a day, accommodation bags, to ensure his safety on the way. John heard that Tony was very good handling the situation, so asked someone to call him. Tony knew this job wouldn't easy. Plus, he was inherently prejudiced against black people. Therefore, he asked for a price increase, up to $125 a day. This stunned John on the spot. Thank you, Valalonga, for coming. Thank you for taking the time to come here. Unexpectedly the next morning, John called and agreed at his request. Before departure, the manager only pays for. He saved half of the money to prevent Tony from leaving in the middle of school. He had to help John complete the wow. Each performance, only when you come back will you receive the rest of the deposits. The manager also gave. He has a green book. Take note of the hotels and restaurants that blacks can stop by. In his wife's eyes full of attachment, Tony promises to write to her and commit to returning before the morning of birth. After that, he set out with John, touring. John asks Tony to make sure that every session, performances all use Stingray pianos. At the same time, every night must be prepared. Give him a bottle of Suntory whiskey. John likes the quiet, but Tony is a noisy and talkative person. Along the way, he devours hamburgers. After eating the hamburger, he smoked again. Make John sit in the back, feeling suffocated. John asked him to quit smoking, made Tony upset. Do not smoke. Tony immediately drank soft drinks continuously. His mouth couldn't stop, but unfortunately I drank too much. The gold box pulled over to the toilet to go to the toilet. Once again, John's eyes widened. This person is so rude. First stop, there is Pittsburgh. They will perform for the world. Local upper class. John tells Tony not to talk. Rude, but not. Expected Tony to be even more upright than he thought. If they don't like the way they talk, I just let them bear it. The problem is that he often speaks profanity. Green beans. Why do you keep breaking me so much? Because you can do better and ignore the chicken feathers. John starts the show. His first. Embracing the elegant piano. Not only attract the attention of the audience, but also made Tony see his talent. Racist views of he began to change. He even shook unconsciously to the music. But soon after, he was lying on the floor playing again with the servants. John walked out just in time to see he was gambling. John was dissatisfied and said, "If you need money, just tell me. Winning silver is much more interesting. But what if he loses? Gambling and dice, I won't lose." Kneeling on a road full of rocks, he thought he would win a few odd coins by pouring. Dice are the winners. Why are you making me middle? Everyone does that. They have no choice in or out. But you do. Tony no longer argued. But look at my pillow. Pondered. In his letter to his wife, he also gave many compliments, and appreciate the crispiness. He must have been a genius. When he looked at him through the rearview mirror, I see him all the time. Think of something. I miss you very, very much. They stopped at a rest stop. Tony was attracted to a beautiful sweet treat. He wanted to buy a piece to give to his wife, but the price was too expensive, making him nervous. At the end of the beginning, John's colleagues saw this scene. John solemnly asked him to return it. If he liked, John could buy it as a gift to him. But Tony is adamant that pale stones are not stealing. Both of them refused to give in. John said if he didn't return it, he will not be allowed to drive. In that situation, Tony also had to give in. Feeling better? Don't. Come on, you've lost all interest. Their second stop was Hanover, Indiana. Tony came to check the piano as usual. Unexpectedly, the inside was full of garbage. Moreover, this is not a herd. Stingway stated in the contract. Tony tries to talk to the staff, ask them to change the piano when they are still in time. But, unexpectedly, the other person said, men who are black can't play, and insulted Tony. As a result, he was immediately slapped. Guaranteed performance of John Spring sawing. That makes Tony feel proud. He didn't realize that John was gradually change your perspective. At the same time, Tony is also getting more and more respect for John. Even in a letter to his wife, his assessment of John are also becoming more and more positive. That day, they passed through Kentucky, the hometown of KFCI. Tony fell in love with this fried chicken. He bought a portion of the family's chicken, walking while carrying chicken thighs. Just invited John to try this delicacy. Even gave chicken thighs. Come in front of John. But John doesn't seem to like it. John was afraid that his leg would get oily. People don't want their legs. It's not oily. Come on, eat a bite. Eating is not good. No, take it. Tony joked a little. Made John eat on his toes. All the chicken thighs. John asks Tony what to do with the other bone. What else can I do? Of course. It's back to nature. John threw it out too. Unexpectedly, Tony even threw a glass of Coke out. The next second, he couldn't laugh anymore. John told him to reverse the car to pick up the glass. Chicken bones are wildcats. Wild dogs can still eat, but plastic cups will pollute the environment the further south you go. Racism. The more serious the race. According to the Green Book, they only found one. A small hostel for black people. There are a few black compatriots. Wanted to invite John to play some games. I don't think I'm going to participate. Why, he's just afraid of getting dirty. Just my butler suit. Feeling lost, made him excuse to leave, to go to restaurant 3. Unexpectedly soon after, colleagues have come to Tony to skip the C, reported that John was in trouble. They hurriedly ran to the restaurant 3 just in time to see. John was surrounded by a group of white men. Tony calmly asked them to release him. But the man with the tip pulled out his gun. Said that he wanted the game to return. Should be more interesting. Tony had to put his hands out of his back, pretending to be pulling out a new gun. Made the other people panic. Tony successfully rescues John. Tony's boldness and caution made John unsubmissive and uncompromising. But Tony was afraid. Shouted for John to parachute. You have to take him with you everywhere. What's wrong? Do you really have a gun? Of course not. The Kentucky show ended. They continued to go on their way. The scenery of the village on the way has been dispelling many glooms. Their fourth forest point, La Raleigh, North Carolina. The warm welcome of the hosts make them feel at home. There is even dinner, fried chicken that John loves. But in the middle of the show, John wanted to go to the bathroom. The landlord was very polite just now. The incident stopped him again. He told John to go home, cleaning on the lawn. But John also had his own self-esteem, and dropped back to the hotel, to go to the toilet, then to have to endure the view. This discrimination. Tony was puzzled from afar, being treated unfairly like that. But John can still, laughing and shaking hands with the crowd. This white man. At that moment, John's colleague walked over. He can stay in the north to perform lavish parties on Park Avenue, receive praise and dough, are paid 3 times. But he chose to go down to the south. Why? Even if the colleague didn't say it. But Tony seemed to understand something. At breakfast, Tony did not forget to write letters to his wife. Look at the misspelled words. The letter was crossed out. Looks like a transcript. Daily activities. Besides, John couldn't stand it. To help him correct his words. When I think of you. He remembered the wings again. Vast copper of Iowa. Loving you is the easiest thing I've ever done. Love you? Too romantic. He will always keep this in mind, every day while alive. I loved you at first sight. Today, I still love you. And for the rest of his life, I will always love you like that. They went to Marcon, Georgia. When passing a suit store, wearing it will definitely look very handsome. Unexpectedly, he picked up the suit and tried it, but the salesman violently pulled back. They say black people must buy it and then try it. Got it, John just quietly turned away and left. But Tony felt very upset. In the face of this sick society, there was nothing he could do. In the next performance, John's music is full of evil. You can only use the sound, music to give a little emotion. But when the show ended, Tony received a phone call. Unexpectedly, John was in trouble again. The police arrested him in the guardhouse. Sin Din Tong, Andon. Tony looked directly into the eyes of the police, in his hand holding a shot of money. He uses his own way to save John's career, but John said he shouldn't. Bribery of the police. That's enough, Tony. I don't need these actions. False altruism. And don't care. To my career. What do you mean by that? At that time, he only thought about myself. Because if I miss a show, his income is also affected. Of course I don't want you to miss it. Show. The head of the gratitude. He thought I was just doing that for himself. I helped you a lot tonight. At least show that you know. Can you please a little? And again I said, without me, don't go anywhere. I think you don't want to go with me. I don't do things like that. The next day they arrived at the Forest Station, 6th leg in Memphis, Tennessee. Right in front of the hotel, they meet Tony's Italian compatriots. They speak in introductory Italian. With John working in the mafia, if you can't take it anymore, I'll find you a job. They made an appointment to meet at restaurant 3 in the evening. But as soon as he walked out the door, John was waiting outside. He asked in Italian whether Tony, are you going to go drinking? It turned out that John understood the whole thing, their talk. Tony was a little embarrassed. He didn't know how to explain. But John took the initiative to speak. He said he would raise Tony's salary. Words full of steadfastness, but his eyes showed worry. It turned out that John was afraid that Tony would quit, dropped him to do something else. But Tony interrupted him. Agreed to be $125. One day is the same. He came down just to reject his friend. At that time, John's eyes had already returned. He took the initiative to apologize for last night's incident. This is also the first time sorry for a white man. Never mind. All my life, I have worked in Restaurant 3 in New York. I understand. This world is very complicated. The subsequent journey did not. There are many turbulences. The distance between them has gradually disappeared. And instead of a friendship full of preciousness, while waiting for a red light, the girl in the car next to her saw the black man, white as a driver for blacks. She curiously called her boyfriend to look at her. But Tony didn't care, only respond to them with an international gesture. That night, they got lost in the heavy rain. The 2 policemen who stopped them and forced them to get out of the car and stand in the rain to check. The reason is because this is the city of the setting sun. Blacks must leave before sunset. When you know that white people are drivers and the boss is black. One of the policemen who scolding Tony for being half black. As a result, both were thrown into the post. John asked for permission to make a phone call. The sheriff thought he would make a phone call. There is nothing to worry about. But as soon as I pressed the button, he received a call from State Governor asks for release. You immediately. Knowing that John had just called the Attorney General, President Kennedy's son. Tony felt this was enough too. He boasted all his life. But John wasn't happy at all. It's all because of Tony's impulsiveness. He had to lose face in front of the Attorney General. They argued all the way along the way. Tony said John was always as arrogant as, so, he was white. And I have to stretch out to make a living. Looks more like a black person. Those unintentional words are clearly shown. Discrimination against black people. Those words made John deeply hurt. John angrily got out of the car in the rain. Tony ran along. Tried to make peace, but John ran out, revealing his weakness. Rich white people pay money for me to play. They just let them appear cultured. But as long as I leave the stage, I became again, which they despise, because that's their true culture. And I have to endure contempt. This is alone because even black people don't accept me, because I'm not like them. If I'm not black enough, not white enough, or not enough men. So, Tony, you tell me who I am. It turned out to be the pain, deep in John's heart. Tony is going to settle down, but I don't know where to start. When the heart is revealed, their friendship deepens. In order to protect John, they decided to stay in the middle of the room. John took the initiative to hold the letter. Tony writes to his family. And he realized that Tony, from a rude guy who learned to, can be written in American harmony words. That made John feel at ease. The next day, they arrived at the last Forest Point, Birmingham, Bang, Alabama. Hospitality restaurant manager. They are warm and dedicated. Give John a storage room to change. Although it is small, it can still be temporarily accepted. When John's colleague approached Tony, Tony couldn't help but lament. He didn't understand why John had to suffer in such a small room. Seeing that Tony has changed throughout the journey, finally speaking the truth that he had not said before. That's because talent alone is not enough to change people's hearts. It takes courage. As soon as he finished speaking, John is stopped by the service staff. The manager smiled and said to him, "Here, not serving the family, black is traditional. As the main performer tonight, but cannot eat here. Ordinary people won't be able to accept this. Before I could eat here. Otherwise, there would be any performance." The manager was confused and didn't know what to do, because the guests all come only to watch this performance. He pulled Tony aside, even wanted to bribe Tony. "Ask me to make a bid." $100 was enough to convince him. "Does that kid perform? Do you think you can bribe me?" "I don't mean to offend you, sir. But if you can't be bribed, he will not be in the position he is in now." "Don't be like that, Tony. It's okay. If you want, I will perform as usual." John's trust makes Tony felt heavy. Only when John finishes it all, performances, Tony just received the remaining wages. But he still didn't have the slightest wind. "Get John out of there." They went to a black man's bar. "Order a few dishes to fill your hungry stomach." Probably never seen a person. The black family is so elegant. The owner of the restaurant was also curious about his identity. Tony said John was the best pianist. Obviously, the hostess didn't believe it very much. So, with Tony's encouragement, John begins to play on the piano. The restaurant's elaborate piano, even if it's not a Stingway piano, but every note sounded, is even more wonderful. John receives applause, warm hands and high recognition from their compatriots. Later, John and the band in the bar collaborate to play a piece of music out. This is love music, likes of the black family, only now. John really accepted his black age. This is just a show, real success. When they were going to drive back to New York, on the night to celebrate Christmas, Tony pulled out his gun and fired 2 shots. Two black thieves rushed away. It turns out that John accidentally showed off things that caught their attention. Be it friend or foe, can never rely on just skin color to evaluate. "I knew right away that you had a gun." They continued their journey home during the night. Nevertheless, they encountered a blizzard in the middle of the road, adding danger to long-distance driving. John tells Tony to put the sewing stone to the control panel. It turned out that John had known beforehand. Tony hasn't returned the stone that he has taken. "Thanks. Now I feel it's much safer. You're so obnoxious, you know." During the night, they met the police again. Tony felt a headache. Like this time, the police just said that they played. Now their car keeps turning to the left. It looks like the rice cake exploded. Thanks to the help of the police, they quickly changed their backup disguises. "Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Mr. Policeman." It turns out that this world is gradually for the better. As the car entered New York, I don't know when John have sat in the driver's seat, and Tony was tired in the back seat. Tony invited John to meet his family. Nevertheless, John politely declined. Upon returning home, spacious and luxurious room, only John was left. Compared to John's solitude, Tony's house was filled with warmth. His relatives welcomed him with it, all sincere. Homesickness between the two, husband and wife, have been transformed, with a kiss and a warm hug. Looking at Tony becoming quieter, his father-in-law asked if the family was black. "Does it bother you on the road?" However, Tony asked him to don't call John that. At that moment, there was a knock on the door of the room. Opened the door to see John politely, holding an invasive bottle, standing outside. The two of them have a lot to want to speak, as if it were all infused into a leg hug between two friends. Tony introduced to his family that, "This is your friend, John. Gotta know." Everyone was a little surprised, but they quickly pick up John to sit down. Looking at the elegant woman in front of him, John immediately guessed that it was Tony's gentle wife. "Thank you for sharing Share her husband with me. Thank you for helping me, wrote letters. The movie ends here. Because Singza is a black man, but his nobility is the same as a white man. This state of neither black nor white has, making him live in loneliness. The white man couldn't accept him. Even black compatriots also did not accept him. However, a journey, a friendship that transcends skin color has helped him find himself. Skin color will never be the target. Standards for assessing human dignity. On the contrary, it is the heart inside. That skin color is.
Enjoyed the video? Hit subscribe, drop a like, share with your crew, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk movies.